Hi, welcome to this episode of White Club Geography. Today we're looking at the Changing Economic World section of the AQA course, our NEE country which is Brazil, and specifically the 6 and 9 mark questions about the topic of the changing industrial structure, the balance of different sectors of the economy, and how manufacturing industry can stimulate economic development. So the questions today explain why the importance of each sector of the economy is changing in an LIC or NE that you have studied. Next, manufacturing industry can help to stimulate economic growth. To what extent do you agree with this statement? Here's the information page that we're going to be referring to. So if you've not got the booklet or any access to the information, just pause at this point here. Any information will come from this slide and also the following slide. Here's the next slide, so feel free to pause here if you've not read the information yet. So the assessment objectives, AO1, AO2, AO3. AOs just stand for assessment objectives. So AO1, knowing a good geography, so stuff, data, examples, geography words, place names. AO2, understanding, so explaining your work, saying this means that, this results in, a knock-on effect of this is, due to, because, the list goes on. AO3, make a decision. You're going to use phrases like significant, important, effective, successful. Definitely include those in your conclusion and also write mini decisions throughout your work as well. Our command word today is explain. So in the beige box in the middle we've got the structure strip. So introduce, first paragraph, second paragraph, and if you need to, a third paragraph. But to be honest, we'd much rather 2 good appeal paragraphs than 3 that are not good. We'd much rather that. So do 2 paragraphs that are really good. If you're struggling with how to explain, have a look at the green box on the right hand side. Again, if you struggle with any of the extended command words, use the multi-tool structure. The multi-tool structure in the bottom left box, in the blue box, it says discuss, assess, evaluate, to what extent. All of those, if you're struggling, just use this multi-tool structure, which is, as you can see in the beige box, a positive, a negative, make a final decision. So the first question, let's look at this in more detail. So explain, give reasons, the importance, why it's needed of each sector. So we're thinking about primary, secondary and quaternary sectors of the economy. If you don't know what those mean, find out in the booklet or find out from somewhere else. They are very common geography words. How is it changing? How is Brazil changing? It's a 6 mark question. So really we're thinking about why are those aspects, the primary, secondary and tertiary, why are they important to Brazil and how have they changed over time? Here's how you're going to split up your work. The introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2. As I said before, I would probably leave paragraph 3. I'd much rather paragraph 1 and 2 done well. That will definitely get you more marks with mini conclusions. And then at the end, do a full conclusion. Which one do you think has had the biggest influence on your NEE? Is it primary, secondary, tertiary or quaternary? And then use the words significant or important or effective or successful. In this instance, probably the word significant or important is the most useful one. That's the kind of space that you will have to answer this question, so not a lot of space. As ever, the mark scheme is level 1 is basic, level 2 is clear understanding, level 3 is detailed understanding. Here's an example of an answer. There's a lot of text here, I do realise that. We've probably done 2, 3, maybe even 4 peel paragraphs just to show you the range of things that you could include. If I was you, I would just do 2. So here's the answer. There are 3 main sectors within the employment industry, so that's primary, secondary and tertiary. Each one is important in developing the economy of an LIC or NEE. The NEE study that I've studied and will refer to is Brazil. Brazil has benefited most economic growth from its accessibility to raw materials such as iron ore. This sector has created many jobs, which means tax has been paid to the government. However, primary goods sell for much less. This is significant as it may slow the economic development for Brazil. However, recently Brazil has begun to expand the secondary sector through the investment of TNCs or governments, and they've become part owners in manufacturing companies. This means that finished manufacturing goods can be exported to other countries such as China at a much higher price. This is important as it increases the speed of economic development through the investment, job creation, they're often more skilled or higher paid jobs, and international trade links. An example of this would be the JLR investment, which created 300 skilled jobs. It could be argued that the sector with least importance to Brazil currently is the tertiary sector. This is due to skilled workers being unavailable to support the growth of this sector. However, tourism in cities such as Rio have grown, and that has been a major sector in Brazil. In conclusion, it can be seen that all these sectors have a role in economic development of Brazil. However, I believe the most significant sector to Brazil's economic growth is the secondary sector. This is because it offers potential for rapid growth through investment and job creation. Here we've got the AO1s, AO2s and AO3s. And there you've got one of the structures, so the intro, primary, secondary and tertiary, and the conclusion. If you took out maybe tertiary, that would probably be absolutely fine. The next question, here we've got the assessment objectives again. I know I've talked through those, so just pause here if you want to see them again, but I'm not going to go through them at this point. The next question is a to what extent do you agree question. And as ever, on the left hand side in the white box, we've got a decision to make. Do you agree? Maybe 60% or 70%. Do you disagree? So maybe it's 30% or 40%. Here's how to structure it on the beige strip in the middle. Give 2 peel paragraphs to support what your statement is. And then your third peel paragraph is acknowledging there's another side, the opposite point of view. Then make a final judgment. If you're struggling, have a look at the structure strips on the right hand side. As ever, feel free to use the multi-tool structure that will fit with this question. It won't get you the full marks, but it will get you a good way towards it. Pause here if you need to look through that again. So the question, manufacturing industry can help to stimulate economic growth. To what extent do you agree with this statement? So read through the statement and annotate it. Manufacturing industry, so we're thinking about secondary industries, the example of the JLR car factory near to Rio de Janeiro. Can it stimulate, can it improve economic growth? So we're thinking about the growth of money, jobs, business, and you must use the word extent in your answer. So in your first sentence, to a large extent, to a lesser extent, and also add a percentage. It's a 9-mark question. Those are the things to include. Here's the structure of your answer. So introduction, then firstly and secondly, and the third paragraph give the other point of view, and finally give a conclusion. It's a 9-mark question, so you'll have a little bit more space than usual on this, maybe 14 lines or so. The mark scheme, as ever, level 1, 1, 2, 3 marks, basic, level 2, 4, 5 and 6 marks, that's a clear understanding, level 3, 7, 8 and 9 marks, detailed understanding. So here's a possible answer. Again, it's probably quite a lot in here. If you kind of removed maybe one of the peel paragraphs, you'd still probably be okay. But we've included lots of things in here, so you've got an idea of the potential of what you could include. So I agree with this statement to a large extent, 70%, as the manufacturing industry has boosted economic growth within Brazil. Firstly, in Brazil, the manufacturing industry has led to huge investments from TNCs or transnational companies such as Jaguar Land Rover, JLR. This means that higher paid skilled jobs are created for people within Brazil. A knock-on effect of this is the Brazilian government received increased revenue from tax, which they are then able to invest in the development of healthcare and education. This is important, as investing in education could attract more TNC investment if a skilled workforce is available. Secondly, manufacturing industry is also important to Brazil, as finished products can be sold at a much higher cost. Traditionally, Brazil would export raw materials such as iron ore, but it's at lower costs. But now, the government part owns the petrochemical company of Petrobras. This means that they're able to export finished goods, which is petrol, at a much higher price, to countries such as China. This is significant as it leads to increased economic revenue for Brazil to further invest in the country's development. However, it could be argued that Brazil does not receive all the economic stimulation from the rise in manufacturing industry. This could be due to the attractive offers such as tax breaks needed to attract TNCs. A knock-on effect of this is TNC investment profits are sent back to the home country. This means that Brazil would not see the full potential of economic boost. In conclusion, to a large extent, it can be seen that Brazil has benefited from economic stimulation through manufacturing industries. This has benefited them in regionals and also in the creation of jobs globally with the increased trade links around the globe. Now you'll see, compared to the previous question that we looked at, there's actually quite a lot of overlap, and that's absolutely fine, so long as it answers the question. If you've got some data, include it again if you would like to, so long as it answers the question. Here's the assessment objectives, AO1, AO2 and AO3. And here's the structures. The introduction, 2 peel positives, a negative given the other side, and a conclusion at the end.